Purple Eagles Weekly is brought to you by Ant Pro Sports Elite Team Gear, Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers, Steve Baldo Ford in Niagara Falls, Crown Plaza Hotel Niagara Falls, the official hotel of Niagara Athletics, and by Pepsi.
And welcome to Purple Eagles Weekly. I'm your host, Jeremy White, as we check in with NU Athletics once again. We've got time to spend with the women's basketball team in a little bit, and a nice piece on Meghan Redenbach, who was a guest of honor at the Purple Eagles hockey game, and a different kind of guest. You'll want to see this story. It's coming up. Tribute paid to Meghan Redenbach, who is an honorary member of the Purple Eagles hockey team. But we start off tonight with men's basketball and assistant coach Kyle Neptune in his first season with the Niagara men's basketball team. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What brought you to Niagara? How did you go from Lehigh to Villanova and now to Niagara?
Well, it's a funny story. I actually was on staff at Villanova with Coach Mihalik's son, Joe Mihalik, also junior. And me and Joey had a great relationship, so it kind of bridged the gap when the job became available this summer.
I shouldn't be surprised, a Philadelphia connection with Niagara.
Definitely helped.
The Niagara basketball program is just full of Philadelphia connections.
Yep, well, Coach Mihalik, myself now, and Phil Martelli Jr. also. So, yep.
Well, first season as assistant coach of the team, and we've chronicled on this show so far that it's been a trying season. It's been an unusual season for Niagara Athletics. So what's it been like for you to kind of come in and try to help out and get through this tough time for this team?
Well, yeah, like you said, it is tough. Losing is, I mean, as a competitor, it's never easy, and I mean, it's times you want to rip your hair out. But the other side of it, you get to be around young men. You get to help them along with their path of life, and you just get to be around basketball. And that's, as a coach, that's what you want to do. So.
Now, specifically when it comes to coaching duties, what are your specific duties? Like, some coaches will do a little bit of this, some will do a little bit of that, offense, defense. What is it that specifically you focus on a given practice?
Well, Coach Mihalik is great because he tries to let everyone do everything. So in some programs, there's a recruiting guy, then there's a on-the-court guy, and then maybe a video guy. But it's not like that here. It's literally everybody's doing everything, and everybody's putting in their input and everything. And that's why I think he's been a great coach.
Well, it's a team that's young. They've got some young players. We're looking to see if they can grow into roles. Right now, Anthony Nelson, the only senior on the team, has been leading the way. He's a role model, according to Coach Mihalik. Would you agree that Anthony Nelson, what he does out there, is what these younger players should be looking to aspire to be?
Absolutely. I mean, at times after the game, you think he might need an IV because he just plays so hard every single possession, and he just tries. He does everything on the court, whether it's rebounding, assists. He's leading the country in steals. He scores for us, so he's just been Mr. Everything for us.
And as a four-year player, you played at Lehigh for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Is there a process? I mean, players would know it better than anyone else of you go to college and you think you know what you're doing, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And then over the course of your 4 years, you need those upperclassmen to teach you exactly what it takes?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, like you said, Anthony's been great, and it's also our job as coaches. I mean, we have a number of freshmen. So it's our job as coaches to try to get it through to them to do it our way instead of trying to do it their own way. You could ask any of my coaches. I was probably the most hard-headed out of anyone they've coached. So I kind of see where they want to fight and they want to do it their way. And it's not an evil thing. It's just pretty much human nature. So
right, you've got it. That's why you're coaches.
Exactly.
You guys are there. You know what the game plan is.
Absolutely.
You know what kind of players they can become to become better players and a better team. So, as a former video coordinator too with Villanova, you told me you were doing some work with that. How much do players watch film these days? Is there a more specified, like a more specific way to scout your opponent, to maybe even scout yourself, scout your own shooting, scout your own defense? How much does this team do in that regard?
We do a fair amount. I mean, we scout every team we play. We'll watch. I mean, as coaches, we'll watch probably as many game films as we could possibly watch. So that's and then as far as watching our games, we'll watch some of our games with the team as well, break it down, show them what they're doing right and wrong. So to answer your question, a fair amount, a lot.
So a fair amount of video study. Now, for these young players, you've got to tell us who the up-and-comers are, like who you're looking to in the future, because we know there are freshmen that have come in on this team and started to contribute. Granted, it's not making much headway in wins and losses just yet, but one of the things that Anthony mentioned when he was on last week was he said if he can go out and really instill a work ethic in these guys or teach them anything, that even when he's gone, he'll be able to look back and say that the success that this group of guys has might be in part his responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, he's, like you said, he's been doing a great job at that. But also, they're getting a great opportunity this year. I mean, maybe not wins and loss wise to get the experience of winning, but the best teachers actually getting out there and getting put in the heat. And as freshmen, I mean, I didn't get to play as much as any of these guys as freshmen. And normally as freshmen, you normally are sitting behind an older guy and kind of learning by watching, and these guys are actually learning by doing right in the heat of battle. So I'm looking forward to them. That I think they've grown so much in this throughout the course of this season. And I mean, by next year, they're going to be veterans. Mm-hmm. And that's, as sophomores, you're normally coming into your own and maybe now starting to get playing time, but not them. They've already gone through it. So it's going to be great for them.
Before we let you go, what's the challenge for you? What's the biggest challenge first year as an assistant here? You mentioned you've got some young guys, and you know what it is to be a young guy. You can be hard-headed. So you've got to walk that line of making sure that you keep them focused on what they're doing and not discouraged too much by the record. Is that the biggest part of it? Like what have you found to be the biggest challenge?
I mean, you know what? It's everything. It's everything. It's no one thing. And like I said, it's just the challenge of going out and just trying to put forth your best effort every day. And there's no shortcuts, and they're freshmen. There's a lot of freshmen, and even not just freshmen, there's a lot of guys who haven't played multiple minutes in their careers. They just haven't done it. So they're all maturing, and they're maturing a lot, but it's just the fight. They have to continue doing it.
Assistant coach, men's basketball, Kyle Neptune, first year as an assistant here at Niagara. Thanks for coming by, and continued success and hopefully better results as the season goes along.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we're going to check in with the men's hockey team, which paid tribute to an honorary teammate retiring the number 6 from Meghan Redenbach. Meghan, her story next on Purple Eagles Weekly. And welcome back to Purple Eagles Weekly here on Time Warner Cable Sports Net. Mentioned we'd check in with the men's hockey team. A very special weekend as the Purple Eagles played host to Sacred Heart. Meghan Redenbach, an honorary teammate of the Purple Eagles, had her number 6 retired at the ceremony for the game. Checking in with Meghan's story, it's not one you hear every day. Take a listen. There were many tears shed at Dwyer Arena Friday night. The tears not from a monster hit, not from a heartbreaking loss. These tears were for Meghan. Friday night against Sacred Heart University, the Niagara men's hockey team saluted its honorary captain, Meghan Redenbach, by retiring her jersey, her number 6, and securing a locker in the Niagara locker room in her honor. Yet as the tears were shed and the team paused with emotion, if you listened hard enough, you may have heard a young girl's voice saying, "Man up, guys." Meghan Redenbach, the 15-year-old Royalton Heartland student who died from a rare form of ovarian cancer on Christmas Eve, coined that phrase in an essay contest. After meeting her through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Niagara hockey team quickly embraced her and adopted the winning slogan. Meghan was there no matter how she felt. Before games, she joined the team in a prayer. She was there waiting with a post-game high five. All last season, in the 12 games that Meghan attended, Niagara won 10. She inspired the Purple Eagles to a whole new level.
She was an honorary team member. She had a stall in our locker room. She would come in for pregame talks, and she was competitive and fiery, and she was a good athlete, a two-sport athlete in high school. And when she came here, she wanted us to win. But, reading her essay and her fight, her battle, and wanted to be a survivor, it touched us all.
Meghan insisted the team inspired her as well. When she was cleared to play basketball last year, the entire Niagara hockey team came to watch her return to the court. And like last Friday, that night belonged to Meghan. She had a great game, hitting a number of clutch three-pointers. The emotion of the night and her intoxicating smile captured in a photo of the star surrounded by her biggest fans, the NU hockey team. That memorable picture is hanging up in the stall devoted to Redenbach in Niagara's locker room. It, too, will forever remain untouched, and her slogan, "Man Up," covers a wall. So many players on the team were affected by Redenbach for life. Although there are reminders of her locker, her retired number 6 jersey hanging inside, the large white banner above the ice with Redenbach across the top, and the Man Up billboard. The players know they will never need them. They won't need them because they'll never forget their hero, their inspiration, Meghan Redenbach. And on the night that Meghan was honored at Dwyer Arena, the Purple Eagles pulled out a 4-2 victory against Sacred Heart, and Paul Zanette, one of the players that had been particularly close to Meghan, scored a goal, and the banner hanging right above the scorer's table immediately, Paul turned and paid salute to Meghan Redenbach. A very special night at Dwyer Arena. Also this last weekend, the Purple Eagles able to pick up a tie on Saturday night against Robert Morris to stay ahead of the Colonials in the AHA standings. So currently, Niagara still sits in second place. The top two teams will get byes going into the AHA tournament. Coming up next, we'll check in with women's basketball. You're watching Purple Eagles Weekly. Back here on Purple Eagles Weekly on Time Warner Cable Sports Net, we'll check in with the women's basketball team. We have head coach Kendra Faustin here. Thanks for taking the time. A repeat guest here, of course, on Purple Eagles Weekly. You're a veteran at this point.
Yeah, at this point I am.
And a veteran of the coaching ranks too. 4th season as head coach.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens.
No?
I have no idea where all that time went.
Well, some coaches would say you get better every year, so you're better than you were before.
We are better. We are better. We're struggling a little bit this season. We're just so young, and we have one key veteran, and that's Liz Flooks, our one senior that's on the court. And then we have the majority of our teams freshmen and sophomores. We have 7 freshmen and sophomores. So it's been a learning year for us.
Seems like the men's and women's program's kind of in the same boat. You've got one player who's a veteran and a number of youngsters. So how do you, as a coach, handle that dynamic effectively?
Well, it's interesting because you're getting to know that group. So I think with every group, it's different. That dynamic is different with every group. You might have a group of young players come in with a certain sort of personality, as opposed to the next year you have a group with a different. This particular freshman class is very strong personality. So, and there's a lot of them. And I think that shows on the court and the way that they're performing and have really learned and grown in the last month or so.
When you have a lot of strong personalities, it's possible you could have a lot of individuals too, people that are just kind of doing their own thing. So team building?
That's what we struggled with early. I think Coach Neptune said the same thing, in that they think they know, but they don't. And they have, our players in particular have such a great person to learn from in Liz Flooks, who has been here for 4 years and can really add some valuable experience. And for a while, I don't know if they were so interested in doing that. So that's what, just helping them navigate through, okay, just because, here's your strength and this is what we want you to play to. And like anything, getting them to buy into, defending, which, for us is huge. And not a lot of players come out of high school saying, I'm going to guard somebody.
Right. Everyone wants to score. No one wants to play defense. How much of it is kind of a game for you? Reigning MAC Coach of the Year, 3rd season to 4th season. I think collegiate sports just kind of have those natural ups and downs because it's roster turnover, nonstop. Every year there's roster turnover. So I guess what makes is that fun? Is that maddening? What is that like?
It's both. It's both. I think in our program that, the leaders that we had last year and the maturity that we had last year, I really took for granted. We struggled early, and we were strong enough to really pull it out at the end of the year and finish a great year. And it's taken us a little longer this year. We don't have a veteran-laden team. And so it's fun to put the pieces together, the new challenges, and getting to know new players and how they fit with the players that have already been there and the culture that's already there. And it's frustrating because you want them to get it sooner, because I keep telling people, how talented we are, and they're looking at our record like, are you kidding me? And I keep saying it, and I believe it.
And it's the same situation with Liz that we have with Anthony, where she has the opportunity to really usher in the next era.
Yes. And like anything, I think when Liz is away from our program, our young players will then fully realize what she brought to our program. Obviously she adds scoring and energy, and she's positive all the time. She's a great person to be around, and her energy is contagious, and they know that. They just don't sometimes, and sometimes I fall victim to it too. I take her for granted because she does all these little things because she's a senior and she knows how to do them, and I don't have to worry about it, where I can focus on some of our younger players.
I asked you about team building, and there's on-the-court team building, then there's off-the-court things, because sometimes when you have a new group of players, you said a lot of youngsters, a lot of individuals, do you guys do anything, do you ladies do anything as a team off the court that you feel like you can see the results in practice? You can see that they're closer because of it?
Yeah, well, we start the year taking a retreat, and we go away to YMCA camp in Barker. And we stay overnight in cabins with no electricity and no heat, and it's very interesting. And some of our young women weren't really accustomed, the city kids weren't really accustomed to large bugs and mice.
Did they give up their phones?
They had no choice.
Wow.
It was very tough. And, so that was the beginning of it, and kind of breaking down the barriers of, we're in this together, we're going to deal with it together. And then we do what we call a buddy system, and we put an upperclassman with an underclassman, which proved a little difficult this year because we have more underclassmen than we have upperclassmen.
Right.
And we have them do things together, and then, Liz does some things off the court, a dinner night with the group, and certainly over Christmas break when we don't have class, we spend a lot of time together and do different team building things.
And I have one thing on here that has to be a misprint. 3 seasons as an assistant at Canisius?
I know.
I don't know if you know this. That's not okay around Niagara. That's not okay. It's a pretty serious rivalry.
It is a pretty serious rivalry.
And now you're
Absolutely.
beating Canisius. You swept them last year.
Yep. It's interesting. It is definitely a rivalry.
Do you hear about it on campus that you wear
I
the scarlet letter?
I just say the other school. I don't say the name. I just when someone asks me, well, where are you before? I was at a school south of here.
Yeah.
That's what I say because it's a buzzword.
Well played. Well played. That's the way to do it. All right, coming up next, we'll check in with Liz Flooks, who we heard so much about. We'll hear straight from Liz about this Purple Eagles women's basketball team next on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet. Final segment here on Purple Eagles Weekly. We'll stay with the women's basketball team. Liz Flooks is here. We heard so much about you. Your coach is raving about your game, that you are the perfect player, or at least the perfect player for this team, because being the only senior that's currently playing, you've got 2 other injuries. What's it been like for you this season?
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but I kind of like it because I look at these freshmen as I am a senior and the only senior on the team playing right now, and I see these freshmen coming to me with questions and, well, why is coach acting like this, or why did I get yelled at for this? And they get yelled at, but then when you have someone who's been through there and they see that I get yelled at for the same things, that they realize, okay, well, she's not perfect either, but I can understand it from her because she's been through it. Like, what do I need to do? And I don't know, I feel like kind of like a mom to these girls.
Right.
The freshmen do call me mom, so
Really?
They are like my little kids.
Well, as a senior, it's only a couple years difference. Do you find yourself looking at freshmen coming in and think they're so young?
I do. I'm 22, and I turned 22 before some of my freshmen turned even 18. So they were kind of young, but they kind of latched on to the older classmates and kind of trying to feel their way through in summer school and everything.
And you just go with the nickname Mom. That's good by you?
I do. I do let them call me Mom. It comes out on the court sometimes when they throw me a ball or, good hit, Ma.
Oh, jeez. Well, you've got a lot of those hits. You joined the 1,000 point club back on December 9th, the 21st member of that. What did that mean to you? A big time milestone.
It was. I honestly had no idea I was anywhere close to it until probably 2 weeks before people started talking about it. And Coach had mentioned it to me in the summer, but I believed her, but in the back of my mind I was like, there's no way I'm that close to 1,000. And I don't know, I like to score, but I'd rather win, so I'd give back all my points to win games, so.
Well, you got a big win at the Palestra with 25 points, right?
Yes.
And a very historic win because of what it meant, not just to you, but to your family. Tell the story about that.
My mother played for LaSalle University. That's how I got into basketball, really, because my mother, and she played there. And my grandfather had been to the game when my mother played there and sat in the same seat that he sat in watching my mother play. And 30 years later, here I am playing on the same court, and he sits in the same seat to watch me play. And it was a very historical, and it was very, kind of like a moving game, playing in the same arena that my mom played in. I don't know how many players can say that they played in the same arena that their parent played in and playing the same sport, at least.
And one of the reasons you're at Niagara is actually because of close ties to another family, the Mahalik family.
Yes.
So how did that all happen that brought you eventually to Niagara?
My dad and mom went to LaSalle University with Joe and Mary, and they just know them. And when I was looking at schools, my dad had just mentioned Coach Mahalik and Niagara, and I just went on their website and sent them an email, and a month and a half later they offered me a scholarship, and 2 months later I was accepting it.
So what was it about Niagara? What was it about being here that you really found appealing?
The team chemistry that the team had, and how close everyone was, and how they were all in it for the same thing. They all wanted to win. They wanted to win a MAC championship. They were all in it to build this program up to where it's going.
And you've played all around. The Palestra, we mentioned that story, also Niagara, but you've played in Italy too.
Yes.
So what's it like to play overseas?
It's a very different game. It's not as physical of a game, and they like to shoot the ball a lot, so kind of like that style of basketball.
Are we talking like a travel team over there, or what was it? How many games? What was it like?
Coach Faustin actually got me into it 2 summers ago. I went to Europe, where we went to London, Paris, Belgium, and Amsterdam for 10 days, playing 5 games in 10 days, traveling to different countries. You'd be up at 8 in the morning, travel all day long, around, seeing everywhere you were, seeing every historical landmark you could think of. And then at night you would play a game for 2 hours. You go to dinner with the team. And here I don't think you could ever find 2 teams that after they played each other, 20 minutes later you're showered and you're both eating in the same restaurant.
Right.
But that's how it is over there. It was very friendly games, and it was just to see what kind of basketball is over there and to really see what the country was like.
Well, best of luck to finish out your senior season as you keep climbing up the chart, 17th all-time in scoring. So best of luck, continue to climb up that. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Liz Flooks on the women's basketball team. That wraps it for Purple Eagles Weekly. Want to give thanks to Kyle Neptune as well, who joined us. Stay tuned next week. We'll be right back updating you on NU Athletics here on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet.